start, Jane, I just have one quick question for you.
Okay.
What is the proper pronunciation of your last name, please?
A scarf, just like around your
It
neck,
is?
scarf.
Okay,
Yeah, yeah,
perfect. That's what I thought it was, and I just didn't want to mess it up on you.
yeah. No problem.
Okay, yeah, Adam, count me in, and I'll do my little intro and introduce you.
Okay.
Welcome, United Yellow Vesters, to Yellow Vest TV. I'm your host this evening, Landon, and tonight I'm happy to bring a guest from Ontario, Canada. She posts some amazing content, several posts which have been shared to Yellow Vest TV. I'd like to welcome Jane Scharf. Welcome
Hi,
to the
Brandon.
show, Jane.
Hi, Brandon. Thanks for having me.
Jane, let's just start with letting you tell everybody a little bit about yourself, what you're involved with in Facebook and protest and the like.
Okay. Well, first of all, I've been involved in protests for many, many years, and I have considerable amount of knowledge and skill in organizing, especially in really strong stuff. And the Yellow Vest message caught my attention, which is primarily about, in Canada at least, it's primarily about UN migration, UN carbon tax, and UN control of our natural resources, which is
Yes,
related to the pipeline issue. So UN, basically, they're tromping around on our rights and our taking our country. Those are the main, like strongholds of a
absolutely.
country.
They're
You know,
taking our
the
country for a
land, yeah,
joyride.
yeah,
Absolutely.
the people, and the resources. So I believe that deliberately the powers to be, the globalists and well whoever the actual characters all play out to be. I think there's something like 8,500 of them, so they can be remain nameless
Yeah.
for the time being. But the strategy to me seems very clear, and what it is they have put resources towards uh, radicalizing. First of all, in this country, radicalizing um, the Antifa. Like most of them are youth and sort of, I guess, angry youth, and they just draw them in and pump them up and point them at the yellow vests. And then they have, I believe, also recruited a certain number of people within the movement, within the Yellow Vest movement, and just terrifying them about Muslims. They're going to be taking over the whole country, and you're going to have to do their religion, and they all want to kill us all, and blah 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 blah. And they've convinced people that there's a terror or there's a terrifying factor in meeting any Muslim. And then the way this narrative plays out is you have the and once they raise the fear that high, then the person, like the natural psychology is to generalize. When the fear is very great, you
Yeah.
generalize.
Yeah.
So then once it's generalized, bingo banga boombo, you have a racist statement coming out of them, right?
Yeah,
So and
and
then and then you have the fake.
once you're labeled that type of
Yep,
extremist,
yep, yep. And
it's more
they're out.
susceptible
Exactly.
to repress
Yeah,
your movement.
exactly. Oh
Absolutely.
yeah, absolutely. Put it right under,
Yeah.
because it's actually characterized as hate crime. If you say things like all Muslims, or if you use examples like, for example, about a week or so, I saw a post going around, and people getting right into it, that a Muslim in Connecticut voted twice, right? So it was,
Yeah.
like people were reacting like, oh yeah, look what Muslims do. Oh my God, So that's
Yeah.
evidence that they have pumped that fear to the point where people have generalized the fear. That's what it is. That's all it is. It's not.
See,
It's not the horrible, whatever that Antifa is expressing, right? And then you have the clash which Antifa, from my perspective, are the ones that are like physically aggressive in their confrontation. So it's not just verbal. I got assaulted on Parliament Hill by a group of about I think there's about 8 of them, and I
My
was
goodness.
actually I know, and I have it all on video because I was doing a live video of the whole thing. And what happened was I went to Parliament Hill. I intended to participate in a protest about what was going on in Venezuela.
Yeah.
And I just presumed, I guess I didn't look closely, and I presumed it was going to be on Parliament Hill, but it was actually in front of Trudeau's office. So when I got up there, I couldn't see any, the protest wasn't there, but there was a protest about OSAP. So there was a bunch of students there protesting. So I thought, well, I might as well interview them while I'm here because
Yeah.
I was all ready to do a live feed on the Venezuela thing. But I thought, okay, switch gears. So I start interviewing some of the students, and the Antifa surrounded me, and one of them put a huge red flag right in front of my face. So I couldn't talk, I couldn't see, and if I push it away, they push it back, and then they started being aggressive with me about don't touch their flag, right? And I mean literally in my face, like touching me. All, and so then, I keep pushing it out of the way, and then one of them grabbed my phone and said, "Well, you're touching our flag. We're not giving you this back, your phone back, because you're touching our flag." So I started yelling at them, and they gave me my phone back. But then they put the flag again, and this time when I pulled it, the stick hit me in the head. And the cops said that they watched the video, and they said two things. They said, one, they could see that was an assault clearly in the video, the way it played out. As well, even though they had the masks on, they could identify them, they said, because they could still see
Good.
their eyes, and one of them had very distinctive hair color, and there's probably other clothing and height and all those kinds of things to identify them at least. And but I decided that at that time I chose not to pursue charges. But recently I put out a post advising people how to make the statements of their concerns, right? They're concerned about open borders, no
Mm-hmm.
immigration process going on,
Yeah.
radicalized Muslims and the things they're saying and they're doing. Um, they can say these things, but just be careful not to generalize and not to make generalized statements and not to be looking at things like one Muslim in Connecticut voted twice, because
Yeah.
we wouldn't say one Catholic in Connecticut voted twice unless we're meaning to show that there's some reason that a Catholic would do that. So it's not okay to attach the Muslim to it and then pass it around as evidence that all Muslims do bad things. There's one more doing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what they
Exactly.
have to be. That's what they have to back up from, because if they don't, we are very soon going to get identified as a terrorist organization, because
Yeah.
those
Or a
statements
hate group. Yeah.
are the same thing. Yeah, exact same thing. Like
Yeah.
that's how under law you become a terrorist.
Well,
And I'm not telling people
that's
to
one of the
shut up either,
ways that
but
that's
just to
unfortunately,
yeah
one of the ways that Israel can get away with the things that they get away with.
yeah
If you
yeah
question what they're doing,
yeah
you're automatically labeled an anti-Semite, and
exactly
you
exactly.
have absolutely
But
zero
exactly. But
validity after that.
exactly. But
Yeah.
legally, I've offered in that email or that post that they got all upset about. I offered to do a few things, get free legal service, and I would assess their statement they want to make,
Okay.
and also if they make their statement and indicate or emphasize that they're not making a statement regarding the character of all Muslims. If they make those statements, I would also be prepared to assist people in filing a defamation claim if they're called
Okay.
racist for doing so. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And the Tifa just got really, I don't know if you saw the post, but they're like
Yeah.
about it,
Yeah. I
really
saw
intense
that.
and threatening to go to the Law Society. And I'm like, and they toned it down now, eh? At first, you saw the
Um,
first one, eh?
so if
It's
somebody
they're gonna
if somebody wanted to get a hold of you for any sort of help, how would they go about doing it?
they could
Any of our listeners.
I could leave my email and I could speak with them on the phone also. I don't mind doing
Okay.
that. I think that would be like what I want to do is I want to kill the narrative because that's defeating us. And I want to make sure that we don't dummy down our statement, right? Our concerns, but that we present it in a way that cannot be
Misconstrued.
categorized
Yeah.
as racist. And if we can do that, we can win this. Because if we can win the narrative, then our message, which is our fundamental message, is about the UN, right? We can get past this racist stuff.
Yeah, it's not about being against Islam or not liking
Yeah,
immigration into our country. What
exactly.
we're fighting against is the unregulated immigration into our country
Exactly.
pushed by the UN.
Exactly. And I think that that was even done to aggravate and to heighten the fear because
And I
they're
think it was too.
yeah,
I would have to agree with you there.
yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
I mean, and it's as simple as stating it's the fear of the unknown, right?
Exactly,
A
exactly.
lot of
And
people
not being able to
don't
control
know
that
right
sense
or
of
wrong
yeah,
when it comes to any type of foreigner,
yeah,
right? Because
exactly. And it's just that
we grew up here,
also the fear
we don't know,
that we have no control of it,
you know,
that whatever they do, we have no
and
control or no say.
yeah,
That's yeah.
unfortunately, yeah, fear breeds hatred, which is terrible, right?
Exactly. But we can reverse it. We can. If people think about it, they can make their passionate statements, but just tweak it a little bit. And I don't mean change it, like get to the base of it. Like really, what is the fear? And really, where is the threat coming from? And
Yeah.
let's focus on that and do it up, and not get bogged down in this, name calling and back and forth. But I was this group. What do they call themselves? Yellow Vest Canada Exposed on Twitter.
Yeah.
They don't put their names because I'm calling them anonymous trolls. Come and get me. Because if they filed with the Law Society, they would have to name. They would have to reveal their name. You can't make an anonymous complaint to the Law Society. And I said,
Yeah.
and they toned it down. Like the first one, they literally are calling me a racist because what would they have to complain about otherwise, right? Because they're talking
Exactly.
about complaining to the Law Society. But now they're saying their new one is that I'm not a racist, but I'm enabling racists.
Oh, you're an enabler.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, because they're saying I'm teaching them how to disguise. And no, I'm not. I'm trying to, get people to recognize what has been done, what is being done to them. They're being manipulated, scared, into this generalized state of fear, and it's very high. And then it feeds off each other too, because
See,
one person is provoked or whatever to that level, and they meet somebody else and they'll provoke, like we're
yeah,
being
yeah.
invaded, and
See,
pretty soon we're all going to have to
and
be
the nightly
going.
news and the common
Oh
media, like your
God, yeah,
news
yeah,
sources and stuff,
yeah,
just fan the flames. I
yeah,
mean, they're dribbling out half truths and
yeah,
part stories
yeah,
and sometimes outright lies,
exactly,
and it's just feeding the fire.
and exactly,
Pitting
and
us against each other, which
exactly, and what
is
what's
not.
also what's also happened for at least 10 years, our government pumped up the Muslim hate in a
Yeah.
thousand ways. That's for a whole other show. But when we were, I always say Syria. When I always say
Yeah,
Serbia, my friend pointed out the other
we
day
were
it's
there
Syria,
too. Yeah,
and there was fear provoked in that. Like the Muslims, and they're going to
yeah,
get us, and they're terrorists. They're all terrorists. That was our government fucking doing that, and they did it for years and years and years. And now we get Trudeau, which also fuels the fire. What he's doing, and I think it's deliberate. Oh,
yeah.
love them
I mean,
all.
they
Oh, don't
you pump
talk
up the
about
fear
any.
of these people for how many years were we
Yeah,
in
yeah,
Afghanistan, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, you pump up the fear of these people, and then the next term of government opens the borders to them.
Yeah, and
What do
tells
you
you,
think is going to happen
I know, and
to the general
flooding.
population?
I know, and flooding the border too,
Of course,
and
these
then
poor
telling
people
you
are going to
and
freak
telling
out
you
because
and telling you shut up, you're a racist. If you say anything about it, um, that's and then that just pushes things further. So it's a very deliberate tactic, I believe, and they're not just doing it in Canada either. They're doing it all over. And other things I've seen in the past, they make like 10, 20-year plans, right? And
yeah,
they anticipate who will oppose, and they create strategies to disable or to whatever you call it, uh, yeah, disable the opposition, or to
yeah, yeah,
derail the opposition, control.
derail the
Yeah,
dissent, and yeah,
exactly. And so I see it pretty clearly, and I hope that, like I was on Rudy Bruce show tonight, and
okay,
his listeners were just taking it in really strongly. They were understanding what I was saying, and they were getting into it. Like, and I truly believe this. If we can beat that narrative, we win, because nobody in this country is going to agree to the shit they're doing. The tax, the carbon tax,
exactly,
the migration, all that. That's why they don't want to have that discussion. That's why
yeah,
they've created all this big drama to drown it out and to discredit the messenger,
yeah.
So if we
Try and
can,
quell the voices, and if they
exactly.
can't shut us up, they'll make it so
Yeah,
that we're termed as racists or
yeah,
extremists,
yeah, yeah.
and then nobody will listen, right?
Exactly, and that's actually working very well. So to get through that door, we have to make sure that we check ourselves for that generalized reaction
Yeah,
and bring specific, not general. I mean, that's actually, I never said it
and
like that before, but that's how I would characterize what I'm saying. For the
and a
concerns to
really
be specified specifically, not in general. You know what I mean? Just like specifically,
exactly.
this is going on, and we don't want it, and so on. So, yeah,
And I'd be willing to bet that any one of the yellow vests protesters in Canada would be more than happy to sit down to anyone. It doesn't matter where they're from, whether they're Canadian or newly landed immigrant
mhm,
or what, and they will sit down and explain what they're doing.
mhm,
Explain to them, this is what the movement is about.
mhm, mhm,
Answer questions and stuff.
exactly.
You won't get that kind of reception from somebody like Antifa,
No,
right?
no,
They will
absolutely.
not sit down at a table and
No,
discuss what their issue
no.
is versus your issue
Yeah,
and see if you
they
can come
just
to an understanding.
what
And that's what
how
this
I
is.
yeah, how I describe their strategy is, let's go fuck shit up. That's what
Yeah,
they're trying to do. They're just trying to fuck shit up. That's it. That's all. They don't even have an objective overall. Like, they're not moving in a direction to do da 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 da,
yeah.
right? They're just trying to
They're
like
just
throw
trying
themselves
to.
at us. And I also believe,
Exactly.
yeah, that there's signs that this is undercover surveillance people. I don't want to say police, because I don't know if where it could be military, it could be the Homeland Security, because we have alliances with them. It could be from
Yeah,
there. I'm not sure where, but Canada passed legislation after 9/11 to deploy individuals into the community. They're supposed to be, seeking out if there's any terrorism, blah blah blah. but that's not what they've been doing, and this has been going
Well,
on since 9/11, and
yeah,
they go into protests that have nothing to do with terrorism. It could be environmental, it could be forestry or whatever, and they just screw it up. And the forerunner of this Antifa was called anti-capitalist, and those are the guys that were just going around and creating havoc, like to discredit, you know what I mean?
yeah,
Like they were supposed to be helping, but they weren't. They would encourage the group to do inappropriate things, so that the police could
yeah.
shut it down and all of that.
See,
And they'd
and
also,
even
yeah,
even
go ahead.
beyond that, I mean, you keep in mind too that the Yellow Vest movement in France actually has video of police dressed up as rioters
Mm-hmm.
amongst themselves,
We had this here
right?
in Montebello, remember? Montebello,
Yeah.
yeah, we had, and they were caught, and they admitted it, so
Well,
that horse is out of the barn. And it
yeah,
happened also in the what do you call it, the what do you call it, shit, the Olympics. In the Olympics, the RCMP were caught doing that. And a
yeah,
lot of a lot
yeah,
of shit also came out in the G20, G8, G20
yeah. It
by the
was
ombudsman. Yeah, because there was
the
one video
G20
there.
and
Yeah.
when they had that meeting of the Bilderberg group too.
Oh, I didn't see that one.
That was when was that?
In
Oh, it
2005
would have been.
in Canada, that one.
Was it that long ago?
I think so, yeah. Unless they
Holy
came
Jesus!
again. Yeah,
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 that was a while ago.
yeah,
But
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. It's pretty intense, and they do it on purpose, in order to have a cause to
uh,
shut the
yeah,
protest down.
a
And that's
reason to
what
shut
this
the
is.
protest down.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
that's what they're doing here. They're provoking this, like, fear to the point where it's generalized. And that's
yeah,
common. I mean, that's what humans do when they get intensely afraid. They generalize. If you know what I mean, like, if you've heard, like, where women, if they were abused by their fathers or some other adults in their home, when they get older, they have a generalized fear of all men,
yeah,
because that's what we tend to do. Like, we generalize the fear, and then that's actually damage done to that individual if they're into the. So that's horrible what they're doing. And with Antifa, those are young kids. And
yeah,
like, if that was my kids in there, and I saw those people going and pumping them up, and putting bandanas and going and evoking violence and confrontations, I would just hit the roof. I mean, I'm
if
already,
you have to hide behind a mask when you
yeah,
go out to
yeah,
protest,
yeah,
you're probably not lined up to do something
exactly.
good.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And the police were useless there too. I mean, that was going on right in front of their face. And it was a long, interaction. It was probably somewhere between 5 to 10 minutes that it went on,
Jesus.
that they were, like, surrounding me and kept putting in my face. And I would push it away, and they put it back, and then start giving me shit
And that was
because
that was
I'm
on
not supposed to,
Parliament Hill?
right in front of about 15, 20 cops. They didn't
Jeez.
put any attention, and I was bleeding quite a bit too. They never did
The
anything. When I
Jesus.
left, they saw me, and I was still bleeding, and one of the cops said, "What's up?" And I said, "Well, blah blah blah," and I showed her the video, and she said that it's clear in the video that I was assaulted. It captured it, in other words, and that they could identify the people that were involved in that, because I had them all on the video.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, it was a little shaky, because the thing
Oh
kept
yeah,
going
I
over
could
my
imagine you'd
head,
be a
and
little
yeah.
shaky,
No, I mean,
you know.
the video, right? Because the
And
the
to
thing
go
would go
after
over.
you
Yeah,
while you were by yourself too.
yeah,
Like, how
absolutely.
cowardly is
I know.
that? You know.
It was about, I think there was about 8 of them, I seem to remember. And yeah, so, and who knows? but they're all wound up anyways. That I'm because you know why? Because they can also see that people are listening to me, and that's undoing all the work that they've done in creating this terror and getting the results they wanted. Right? They wanted that
Yeah.
people making generalized statements, and if people like Rudy Bruce gets it, and he's on the air almost every day, and he's got a pretty good following, and they listen to him. Now they're talking about, okay, we're going to get through the door there. We're going to make sure that our statements are
Are
cleaned
very
up.
clear and
Yeah,
concise. Yeah.
yeah. And I've offered that if somebody's concerned about what they're saying, whether it qualifies as legal hate crime, I will analyze. And if it is okay, and they're still called a racist for saying it, I'll help them prepare a defamation claim, and they'll win. Because if you make the distinction that you're talking about a small group of radicalized individuals, and you can say radicalized Muslims because that's how they're being radicalized. You know what I mean? Around their religion, and they're supporting and promoting like an aggressive version of it, like an
Yeah.
anti-Christian version of it.
Yeah.
And
It's the same as the frivolent Christians. I mean,
yep,
they have their extremists
yep,
too.
they do.
I mean, granted they're not strapping bombs to
That's
themselves
true.
or anything like that, but
Exactly.
extremism is extremism,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
And every religion will have those handful of people
Yep.
that believe so fervently
Yep.
that they're willing to
Be
they're willing to
destructive
die for
and
the religion. Yeah,
absolutely,
you know
and be destructive of other individuals trying to get their views,
exactly.
accepted or adopted or whatever, or disallowing behavior that they condemn or whatever. Stuff like that's always been
Unfortunately,
a
many
big,
wars on this
yeah.
planet have been started over
Oh
religion.
God, yeah. I know.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, in this country, and even, like our activity towards Indigenous people I'm ashamed of it, and it
I have
hasn't.
to agree with you 100% there. Some of
Yeah.
the things that even in modern and what we would
Yep.
consider modern
Yeah.
times that they're getting away with doing
Well,
to the native population
yeah.
is
The thing is, people
is
think that
disgusting.
residential school issues are of the past, and that's not the case because they're apprehending even a higher percentage now, and they're still putting them in institutions that no longer have the name residential school. They have different names, treatment
But if
centers, and
yeah,
correctional centers and group homes, and the exact
group
same
homes are some of the
treatment.
worst cases.
Exactly. England completely abolished them because of what goes on, and we just continue. And so they still have the institutionalization. They still have the same scope of harm being done,
It
and the
just
same.
begs the question, like how many little kids have to get molested in these group homes
Oh God, yeah.
and residential schools and stuff before the government steps in and says no more? I
Well,
mean,
that's a
it's ridiculous the
that's a
amount of
yeah,
abuse that was doled out to these poor
yeah.
children, and yeah,
I know.
I've
The
got a big
coroner
problem with
in
that.
Ontario just put a report out in September 2018 confirming they did investigation of 12 deaths of Indigenous youth, and their results or their findings were that these children were extremely abused and neglected and even human trafficked in the care of the Children's Aid. And that's why they did us like 52% of the budget is being reallocated to go directly to the reserve
Yeah,
instead of continuing. So they're trying to break that pattern, at least for Indigenous. But I mean, we gotta do more than that because that agency is like totally out of control. CAS is just, and they've been accused in public hearings twice of trafficking. Once by Charlotte Whitten. Remember Charlotte
and
Whitten?
why
That was years
isn't
ago, and
the
then once in Cornwall, just 5 years ago in Cornwall. And you know what they
why
said at
isn't
the
that
end? Yeah.
system being fully investigated for that
Well,
kind of stuff? Like,
another thing too is that they have police power, and that's not constitutional. Like Section 9127 gives the federal government exclusive jurisdiction for protection, which includes child protection, and that's in the criminal code. And all the charter rights are entrenched in there too, right? But with this piece of shit, they go through the motions of accusing and trial and all that, no rights from A to Z. And we just found out recently, I'm getting off the topic, but I just found out recently that the family court, the provincially regulated and administered family court, has no jurisdiction or statute, whatever, authority to establish the best interest of the child. That's why they rubber stamp everything the Children's Aid says, because the Children's Aid legislation gives them the authority to establish the best interest of the child. And of course, their version of the best interest of the child is to make the most money off the child they can. So they take babies willy-nilly,
put it in the system,
and put it in the system, and they're allowed to sell them. But they say they're not selling them. They're saying that these are administrative fees. But they're allowed since 2001 with Mike Harris there. He brought in changes that let them go through a private agency with the children. Before, it used to all be public adoption, and there's a bit of a trail and a process and everything. But the private adoption, the public is completely out of it. The government doesn't look at it, doesn't do anything. So they can get, money can change hands, and they call it an administrative fee. But I call it selling babies.
It's exactly what they're doing.
And they sell them out of the country too. Like Charlotte Whitten was the mayor of Ottawa in 60s, I think, and 70s even. And she initiated, what do they call that? Not a public inquiry, the royal inquiry, and she made allegations that they were selling babies on international baby markets that long ago, and that was not sustained, but other allegations she made were sustained, serious ones, and the group home, or not the group homes, the orphanages got shut down as a result of investigations around her work. But group homes are the same freaking thing, so
and it's been happening for decades.
Yeah. But I'm hoping, like we're just about coming to. That's another thing I'm working on, sort of in conjunction with what I'm doing with Yellow Vest. I'm working with a woman that's trying to do a claim against the federal government because of not doing their due diligence with regard to their jurisdiction, blah blah blah, and allowing a private agency. And the OSPCA just lost their police power, and that case law says that private agencies can't have police power, period. So that's really good news.
Well, because that's fantastic. That sets a good precedent.
Very good, because our security guards and everything were going inch by inch by inch, into further, whatever security behavior, like cuffing people and confining them and stuff like that. But they're not going to be allowed to do that. It says zero. They cannot have police power. Private agency, no way. So I love that one. That's just new. That's just came out this year. The OSPCA.
Fantastic.
I think it was in August. Yeah. So we're hoping we can get a similar ruling for the Children's Aid. And in the meantime, I support the what do they call it? Declaration of Independence. Have you seen that thing going on?
No, I haven't.
Oh, you'll love it. I'm not a real, really up on it, but I had a quick look at the video by Doug, what's his name? Doug Force, I think it is. And he has found, and it even made sense once I heard it, because I knew some of it, but I didn't have the full picture. He says that in 1931, the Queen released Canada from being a colony, and it became a member of the United Kingdom. So we didn't have to pay the huge taxes anymore for the military. We could have our own military and our own charter. It gave us a right to have our own charter.
Or
And
charter?
when they,
Okay.
which we didn't do, which is really interesting, because we have the British North American Act. Well, that's not our charter. That's what
Yeah,
the British imposed on us.
yeah,
And he's got a document. He has it on his little film. I can send it to you. It he has, I forget the name of it. It's Westminster something, and what it did is it negated the BNA Act in order to give us that freedom or that autonomy. But we were supposed to, like all the, like Australia, New Zealand, all that. They came in and did their, people's constitution, and the
yeah,
states have theirs, but not by being released. They booted England out and then did their own constitution, right? But
yeah,
Australia was released like we were, and then they did their own constitution. New Zealand, I don't know any other ones, but probably all of the colonies were released to become members of the United Kingdom. But Canada didn't make a constitution. So therefore, it means that all the government offices are de facto, and the courts are de facto. There's no constitutional authority because we don't have a constitution. So this, yeah, so they've got it quite well researched. So what they're
that
doing
sounds
is,
like a fascinating little
it
film.
is,
You need to tag Yellow
yeah,
Vest in it,
yeah,
Yellow Vest TV, and
yeah.
I will
I
definitely
will,
forward
yeah.
that.
Yeah, they're going across Canada now. They went off Facebook because they were being attacked, viciously attacked. No wonder, because it's good stuff. Like, just like you guys are getting attacked because you're doing good stuff. And that, you can always tell. It always gets my attention, when something starts getting attacked, because I
Yeah,
know
I had a rough
that's
day
usually,
yesterday. I was trying to do a little 10-minute news article, and all my groups were gone. Oh
what
God!
the hell,
First
eh?
thing in the morning.
Holy shit. That's because we're taking off. That's why, though. You were starting to show up on a lot of
Well,
feeds and
I'm restricted
shares
to the
and
point now. I'm restricted to the point. It started off when I was sharing our live videos, pretty much like I believe Shar is in the comments now, and she'll be sharing this. But we'll go through a whole bunch of groups and share the video, right, to
yes,
get the message out.
yeah,
And it started off that it wouldn't after I did it for I think the first 2 or 3 days,
yeah.
then it wouldn't allow me to share directly to my page. I'd have to go into the sub menu, select, go to my page, select the page that I wanted to share to, and then share it directly
Oh,
that
for
way, right?
crying out
They,
loud.
they restricted me there. Now it's gone all the way to the point where I can't even copy the URL link to our live feed and post
Holy
that.
shit. Well,
And
we gotta get off there.
yeah,
And I think
that's
what I think could happen is, if we can collect emails, rigorously correct emails, like right now, collect them
yeah,
and get off. We can, well, YouTube, they're cracking down on YouTube too. Apparently, they're going to
yeah,
take off anything that's
and
conspiracy
that's why we're
in 2019.
Yellow Vest TV is specifically lining ourselves up to be multi-platform. We're going to be on everything from Facebook to YouTube to Reddit to
Lovely.
BuzzFeed, all through it, and we'll be doing our live streams through all of those platforms at once,
Nice,
and
nice.
that's going to be coming up right shortly here.
Okay,
Our
good.
tech guys are working on that,
Love it,
and
love it, love
they're
it, love
they're
it.
doing
This
awesome.
is so needed. It's so needed. Absolutely.
So Jane, a couple questions before I let you go here.
Sure, sure.
Do you have any upcoming events that you want to let the listeners know about?
Well, I don't have the exact kickoff date, but it's going to be soon. Martin Barrasso, have you spoke with him?
Uh,
He's the Yellow Vest. He's got a, like a pickup and a, what do you call it, a camper, and he's going
mhm.
with two other guys, and they're gonna sort of like travel right across Canada, but they're going to do specifically, what do you call it, town halls,
Okay.
but they're going to be topic specific, and we're asking people that are organizing around various issues to organize a town hall. So then he's going to come and engage with them and film, like live film. And
Okay.
if and we had they have a like they want to do Barrier Lake, and we don't think they have any internet up there, so they'll just take video, and then when they get back, when they can get a signal again, then they'll
Then they'll
upload
upload
it.
it. Okay.
Yeah, that kind of stuff. Yeah,
Well, for
and he's
sure.
very honorable, very hardcore.
For sure. I mean, keep Yellow Vest TV informed. Tag us in the updates
Absolutely.
on it,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
we absolutely will get that out on the air for you, and
yeah. Right
see if
on.
we can't, let enough people know to schedule a few more stops for you.
Yeah. Right now, they have a plan to do a town hall on the CFS in Manitoba,
Okay.
especially around the Indigenous issue of CPS, because they they apprehend 80% of the children that are apprehended are Indigenous in Manitoba, which is like what, right?
Yeah.
So and there's some organizing there going on and stuff. So we're hoping to have people, speak to specifically what's going on, and
God
then
forbid the.
yeah, and then
Sorry.
Barrier Lake is forestry and mining. They've been
Okay.
fighting that for like since the 1990s, and these friggin', we talked earlier about these undercover whatever they are. They got in there, and I haven't heard anything coming out of Barrier Lake in probably close to a year. So
Oh,
I'm gonna
really?
meet them up there when Martin comes. I'm gonna go up in advance and see if I can get a hold of, because you can't really communicate with them by phone. There's It's a bunch of crap. Like it's I don't want to tell. They have a whole big story to tell, so it'll be good to get it out, but I can't do it right now because I have to give too much background to make sense.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's very, very hideous what they're doing there. Just clear cutting the trees and blowing up the streams, looking for minerals, and then oh well, none in there. Let's go blow up another one.
Oh,
And
Jesus.
they in the 60s they protested, and they won the right to have a tripartite agreement, meaning that it would be the government and the corporations and themselves deciding on a plan, an ecologically sound plan, blah blah blah. And then when Mulrooney got in, he's like, screw that agreement and just let them go around smashing and bashing. So they have quite a and they have a history. Like they were given, they basically own Parliament Hill and LeBreton Flats in Ottawa, because
Jesus.
at the War of 1812, the King gave them land in return for their help in that war, and not reserve land either. Normal deeds, I've seen them. And in the 60s, they came, like when they started having problems with the mining and the forestry, they brought their teepees to Parliament Hill and said, okay, well, you kicked us off this land, put us up there. Now you're, screwing around up there. So we're coming back and taking our land back here, and just to shut
Yeah.
them up or whatever. That's how they got their or tripartite agreement, which is really cool. I even remember one of the pictures was an elderly um, Indigenous woman that was being taken off Parliament Hill by two cops, and she's sitting like she had long white braids, and she's like had a sort of a stoic pose. It was really cool, like defiant. It was really, really good, and they succeeded too. They were happy. They said in the 90s, when I spoke with them in the early 90s, they said they had been happy with the way that was going, like from the 60s till the 90s. And then all of a sudden, Mulrooney's just like, get out of the way. Just, and they've pretty much
It's
haven't
a
been,
it's amazing how a government can do that to
yeah, yeah,
anyone,
I know.
right?
they had their own council and their own style of council that they had for like thousands of years. And when it was at the height of their protesting, under the Indian Act, they came in and passed law that the existing council could not continue, and that the individuals that made up that council were not allowed to be in town. They couldn't be within so many feet of downtown. And then they brought in their own people and set up a council. That's why you can't contact them. You can't just phone because it'll be intercepted. So that's why I'm going to like physically go up there and try and
Yeah,
see if I can get a hold of some people, and then prepare for Martin to come. Like I'll go up like a week before or something to see
to
if
get
they want to
everybody
put
together.
a town hall. Yeah, yeah.
That'd be
But other ones,
fantastic.
there's already about I think there's about I think five town halls already. Like people have offered to set them up on different topics, on all kinds of topics, because that's well, you know that better than most. With the real news,
Yeah,
or I sorry, with the fake news, these kinds of issues are not getting they're not getting airtime.
at all,
No,
at all.
yeah. So that's
And
badly
that's the
needed.
thing. See,
Yeah,
you keep the people uninformed, and they fear what
yeah,
they don't know.
yeah.
So
Exactly. Yeah,
we're fighting upstream to begin with.
exactly. But we're gonna get smarter. Our fighting is gonna get
Mm,
smarter, and like I said, if we can get through that narrative, right, to the other side, we're away,
yeah,
because people are going to hear the message then, and no one is going to support the crap that they're doing when they understand it, when they see it and understand it. They're not going to approve that.
yeah, and see, that's what that's what people don't focus on, right? We're headed for federal elections, and I'm headed for a provincial election.
Hmm.
And everybody's, jumping on the bandwagon of, oh well, this political party is going to reduce taxes, or he's going to
Yeah,
get rid of this
right.
tax, or blah 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 blah
Yeah,
blah.
same shit,
Okay,
different
well,
pile.
here's
That's
the
what I
thing:
say.
all of these political parties bow down to the UN,
Oh yeah, of
and the
course.
UN is responsible for what's happening
And
in this
and
country
where's
and
where's
messing it up.
Scheer's leadership against Trudeau's activity, which is clearly criminal, like the evidence of it, like the new
Absolutely.
tape there. So what's he doing? Where's his bandwagon? He just
Yeah,
sits
and
there
if
and
he's
whines a
not
little bit,
guilty,
like
how come he
softly.
just how come he did absolutely every
Oops. Are you still there? Oops. Oh, I think. Oh, you're there again now.
Yeah, there
Oops.
we go.
Yeah, good. Yeah, we just
Okay.
went away for a second. What were you? You said he was doing absolutely
He was
nothing,
doing
or
absolutely everything in his power to sweep this under the rug. Now,
yeah, absolutely.
does that sound like an innocent man?
No, absolutely not.
You
And
know?
where's Scheer's campaign? Like he's got the he's in a vantage point to be able to do that. He could really,
Yeah.
launch something, and he's not. He just makes a little
And
jab here and there, like
you know,
he's not
like
doing
I,
anything
I have
substantial.
I have nothing against any one of these politicians, but unfortunately, they're operating under a broken and corrupt and very much influenced system.
Yeah, yeah,
And until that changes,
yeah,
it doesn't matter who you elect
exactly.
into leadership, it's going to be screwed.
Yeah, I agree.
And
They're cut from the same cloth.
me personally, I'm tired of having to vote for the lesser of the two evils.
I
You
know.
know,
Yeah, and
I'm really tired of doing that.
they're the powers to be, they decide in advance who's going to get in. That's a
Mm,
story for another day. But I ran for mayor twice, and I ran for MP for Leeds and
well,
Grenville, and I can tell you
you know
some
what?
inside stuff that it's
I
all a friggin' just narrative. You know what I mean? Like They just go through the motions, but it's decided in advance, and there's a media strategy that all the media plays their part in, and all the actors, involved play all their part in it, and it comes out in the wash. And the way, if you notice, the way it works with liberal, conservative, liberal, and NDP, they all get an office. They all get a job. Even the NTP gets it
Yeah.
because they get enough
Yep.
seats. There's a minimum number of seats, so
And they get
basically they
just
have to.
enough.
They're allowed to criticize ever so slightly here and there to make it appear as though they're in opposition to, but there's a line and they can't go over it, otherwise they'll lose whatever. And then between liberal and conservative, they just flip back and forth depending on what kind of policy they want to put across. Like when they want to cut, people don't believe this, but when they want to cut, they put in the liberal.
Yeah.
That doesn't make sense, eh? But it makes sense to me because they disguise it. They disguise the cuts. And I give you an example of and actually the NDP played a role in this. Ed Broadbent made a motion to the Liberals that I think it was in '97 or something for them to pass a motion to end child poverty by the year 2005. So during that time, they cut all the federal transfer payments for social programs. The exact same time that they made a motion, but they do all this stuff on the surface, and then they get everybody all upset that they're spenders. Those liberals, they spend everything, So people aren't noticing that they're doing that.
Where they're cutting, yeah.
Half of our social program money was cut out under the Liberals, and nobody hardly noticed that they did it. And Conservatives, I don't know, they have a specific kinds of policies they want to bring in under them, and things get disguised,
Well, from what I've read and understood, our Prime Minister and my Premier did a bang-up job down in Texas earlier this week, or was it late last week, rather.
What they do?
They went down there to try and stir up foreign money for our oil investment.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, apparently their reception was none too welcoming.
Oh, shit. I didn't even hear about that. I don't watch the news, eh? I haven't for years. I get too upset because I can see like between the lines and the manipulation stuff, and it gets me all upset, and there's nothing I can do about it. Like there's no place to put it. It's like getting all dressed up and no place to go, or getting all revved up and no place to go.
There's a place to put it now.
Yeah.
You can plaster it all over the interwebs now.
Yeah. Well, I know enough about what's going on, but I don't do it through the news, like through the mainstream news. I did one interview with CBC, and it was CBC French radio, which like they were probably the last one to come into the corruption crap that was going on. And when I first started talking to her, she said, "Oh, you don't think that I'm one of those, fake news people and all this stuff?" And I said, "Well, my experience with CBC French radio has been good, and I'm hoping that you're not, that kind of thing."
Yeah.
And she did really real hatchet job. Like she basically called me racist, even though nothing I ever say. And in fact, I have the opposite. I'm trying to, like tone down the racist stuff, and in general in the movement. She also called me a conspiracy theorist, and she said, what was it, like that I had thick goggles, right? And they're just glasses, and they're not thick. They're in fact they're thin. So, but it just to make me, like sound weird like conspiracy theorists with goggles, and hangs around with racists and blah blah blah. And nothing I said got published. And I don't even think she did it because we had a good rapport during the interview, and she did like a lot of the things I was saying. I could tell, but she didn't quote anything.
Really?
Yeah, it was pretty bad, like
Jesus.
pretty stupid. And so I thought never again, because they're the last. The other ones I already know they're rotten from the stem to stern. And
Yeah.
yeah, and I'm done with them. I used to be back in the day, like I'm 65, right? So I've been around a few years, and I used to be really effective in using media to support causes because
Yeah.
and it wasn't easy. There was things you had to do to bring your issue up to the point where it could be published and the presentation. There had to be some like for example, I thought, like, if you have some kind of a conspiracy thing that you want them to do, they didn't want to do it. They didn't want to stick their neck out,
Yeah.
so the way to do it then, now it doesn't matter what you do, but then what I would do is try to, like, create a fire, so to speak, like a protest, something that grabs attention. And
Yeah.
then when they come to cover it, then they want to know, why did you do this or that? And then you can tell them, well, we're protesting because of blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
Then they
Yeah.
can report it in
Report it as
that
a
sort of
story.
objective
Yeah.
way. Yeah, not as their investigation, but as their information that came out of the fire story type of thing. And it was very effective. And I did, like, I have some good successes, but it doesn't happen anymore. So we have to be our own press. That's why I'm excited about what you guys are doing, and I'll support you any way that you think I can.
You know,
And for
um,
one thing, you were saying you were cut out of some of the groups.
yeah,
You
yeah,
Yeah.
I
So
lost a few of them, yeah.
so are you on Yellow Vest Real News?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Good.
Actually,
Okay.
that would be one of the ones that I had to re-sign up to. Um,
Oh shit.
yeah, yeah, I
Those
got
little
back in the
fucks,
group
because I
yesterday
was
afternoon.
following. So it's not, how they said, like at one time they just kind of woke up in the morning one time when we first started the group, and they cut over 100 people out of our group. And they didn't even tell
Yeah.
us why, but there was some general discussion around that they were cutting anybody out that was added to the group who didn't afterwards participate in the group, right? So what the hell are
Ah.
they cutting you out for? Because I was sharing your stuff.
Yeah, yeah, and right back at you. I was sharing your stuff too.
Yeah,
Um, but me personally, I've noticed some odd occurrences in our page too. Like sometimes my feeds won't update properly, and I'll notice that people have posted stuff that wasn't there last time I checked, and then you know
yeah,
2 hours, 3 hours later,
yeah.
something came up.
Well,
You know,
they're
they're
putting a
trying
lot
to
of
restrict
effort.
us.
Yeah,
They're trying to
they
restrict us. You bet.
in those posts, they're in that yellow vest exposed thing. One of their posts was complaining about my posts in Yellow Vest Real News, and that I was tagging racists, and they specifically said, what's his name, Rudy Bruce. So they're admitting they're coming in our group and just trolling around. Like, that is so
Yeah,
creepy. Like,
yeah.
Jesus. But they're admitting it. But they
That's the
won't
thing.
say their
That's
name.
those guys don't realize that all they're doing is fueling the fire because we're on the right track.
I believe we are. And like I
But
say, that'll be the key to move things, like blast things forward. Is just if we can get past that narrative, the narrative they've
yeah,
created, to not play our part in that narrative anymore.
Absolutely. Absolutely agree with you.
Yeah,
And
and even do things that contradict the narrative, such as Martin wants to do a town hall at one of the mosques in Edmonton. And there, I saw a video. It was from Islam, and it was in English, but like broken English. And they were talking about the radicalization, and it was really, I thought it was really good, really compelling, because they said that it's not, their culture is not supporting this. It's not producing this. They might have some part in it, because what's happening is they're recruiting street kids that are angry and frustrated and
yeah,
not well looked after, and so
yeah, yeah.
they were, it was really
They're
cool.
targeting uh, 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 dysfunction.
And we're just as
We have the
intelligent as
numbers,
they
and
are.
we can counter what they're doing.
Yeah,
We can.
absolutely. Yeah,
We need to get our message out
yeah,
and understood.
absolutely, absolutely. So, what would you like me to do? I would like you
Um,
to speak with Martin for one thing, like I would. But what would you like me to do?
I would absolutely love to have an interview with both of you if you would like
Hmm.
to sit down and have a talk.
Okay,
I
sure.
could definitely arrange that.
Okay.
What I'd like you to do, if you could send me in a private message your email and any other
Hmm.
ways that people can get a hold of you, so I can
Hmm.
post it, pin it to the top of the video,
Okay.
and anybody that sees the show has any questions about defamation or accusations of racism or anything
Yep.
like that, get a hold of you,
Yep.
and you can talk them through it. I mean,
Yep.
your help is
Absolutely.
much
Yep.
appreciated. I think
Yep.
that's what you're doing that way is fantastic. That's
Yep.
exactly what our movement needs.
Yeah. Well, I know
Um,
it's an effective thing because Tifa's all hell bent out of shape about it. Like there's a lot of discussion on there. I didn't send them all to you. I think I sent three, but there was more
okay.
on there, more discussion, and so that's good. Like I hit a nerve there.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
On a side note, Jane, every once in a while, us here at Yellow TV will do a roundtable live chat.
Yep.
We'll get a few people together.
Mhm.
What we're hoping for is to get a couple people from Canada, maybe a couple people from the States in the Yellow Vest
Okay.
movement, so that we can
Yeah.
talk, understand what's going on the other side of the border. What are you guys up to? This is what
Yeah.
we're
That's
doing,
good. And
kind
Martin's
of thing.
got some. Martin and I both have some contacts from Ireland. We can introduce you to, uh, and
That'd be
France, because
fantastic.
Martin speaks French, so he's been in
Oh,
touch with
perfect.
and he has really good contacts. Like they're really active and really outspoken and shit. And Australia, he's
That
got
would
some from
be
Australia. Yeah,
fantastic.
yeah,
If you want to talk to maybe we'll start off with you and Martin,
yep,
and I'll talk to the other producers and see if they've got a couple people they want to pull in.
yep.
Um, Tentatively, we'll try for this weekend.
Okay,
Maybe a Saturday night
yeah, that'd
roundtable
work for
talk.
me. Yeah,
If that works for you, I'll see if it works for everybody else.
okay,
That would be fantastic.
okay. Um, Now
Um,
I don't know what content you want for this one to be, but I would love to see one called the racist narrative, because there's
yeah,
a consciousness rising now that I can see, that people are recognizing what that means. Like it's a strategy, that, like we talking about that earlier, but that
yeah,
concept, or that verbiage seems to
yeah,
resonate with people.
yeah. How do we not stop this,
Fight.
but how
How
do
do we
we
fight the
prove that
yeah, or
it's
how do we
groundless,
fight
baseless
the racist
accusation?
narrative?
Yeah, and well, that could be part of the roundtable topic. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
roundtable topic is more or less open mic for
Open. Yeah.
you know
Mm-hmm.
anybody to say what they like.
Mm-hmm.
We usually keep it light and casual. No formalities or anything. Very
Mm-hmm.
similar to the conversation we just had.
Yeah.
I
Right
mean,
on. Good.
this interview has been absolutely enlightening. You gave us
Mm-hmm.
some great insight. Offered some amazing help for us in Canada here for the Yellow
Mm-hmm.
Vest movement.
Yeah.
Um, uh, I'm gonna wrap the show up right now,
Okay. Sure.
and say, I've really appreciate you stopping in and saying what you had to say. Um, I hope that anybody out there that's listening to the video can get a hold of you. Like I said, I'll
I
have.
can give my coordinates right now if you like. I can send them to you
Okay,
also, but um,
yeah, yeah, send
I'll
them to me as
give
well,
my
and then I can
phone
pin them to the
number.
top of the video.
I'll give my phone number and my email.
Okay, go
Phone
ahead.
number 613-884-9065. And
Okay,
my email is mjs as in snake, legal services with an S at the end, at outlook.com.
perfect. So anybody that needs to ask any sort of questions,
Yep,
forward your questions to Jane, and she'd be more than happy to help you out.
exactly. And specifically, what I can do is I can assess your statement that you want to make about the migration and that whole area of topic, to make sure that it isn't characterized in a way that can be judged as racist. And as well, if you've made a positive statement, and didn't sort of cross that line to a racist statement, I can tell you or show you how to file a defamation claim in small claims
Okay,
court. So they could do it
I gotta
themselves.
get in here and plug in.
Hi.
that's fantastic.
Yeah. Did somebody just say
Oh,
something?
welcome to the
Yeah.
show, Shar.
Oops.
Oh, was
I
that an
can't hear.
accident? Okay. Um, I think that was an accident.
Oh, okay. Okay. No problem. Okay. Well, we're good to
Sorry
go
about
then.
that.
Yeah. No problem. And I'm really
Okay,
pleased with
well,
what you guys are doing. I think it's a great job.
I really appreciate what you're doing too. I mean, you're posting some amazing content on your page. And for anyone who'd like to have a peek at Jane's page, uh,
Yellow
her
Vest
page
Real
is
News.
Yellow Vest Real News.
Yeah.
And go ahead, have a look at her page. Hook her up with a like.
Yeah.
Join her.
Right on.
She
Thanks.
posts some amazing stuff.
Okay.
And
Thank you, Brandon.
thank you for stopping by, Jane, and
Okay.
enjoying a little bit
Okay.
of time with us.
Yeah. And thanks for having me. Okay. Bye-bye.